Hey everyone, welcome to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And we are very excited to be back with you once again. Excited mostly because the Steelers went into Cleveland and beat the Browns on Sunday 15-10 in what can only be described as a classic AFC Central game. Even though it's now the AFC North now, but my goodness, that was a slobber knocker if I've ever seen one. And there's a lot to talk about with that. There's a lot to talk about since then. And of course, there's stuff to talk about heading into the Monday night game against the Bears, whom I'll mention we are 0 for our last 3 against, believe it or not. It's hard to believe that. But anyway, joining me tonight are Ian, and we are really thrilled to have Ellie back with us tonight as well. She has been a longtime host and contributor with us here on the podcast, and easily the biggest Troy Polamalu fan on the planet.
Yes.
And I noticed right away that I forgot to do something. I forgot to take that stupid gray bar, so it's cutting off the top of my head.
People aren't missing anything.
No, there certainly aren't. In fact, I just bought a new bald head like electric shaver. I'm absolutely in love with it. The thing takes like 30 seconds. It's glorious. They should have invented these things much sooner. But okay, initial thoughts here. Ellie, you saw the game on Sunday. The Steelers go into Cleveland. First of all, what were your expectations? Did you feel like we're going to win? We could win. Were you just hopeful of a good game? What was your expectation on Sunday?
I always go into every game hopeful that we'll win. I think knowing that Baker was a little beat up and such was not that I hope for injury, but,
Sure.
Sometimes you have to have these things play to your advantage. And I certainly thought that did play towards an advantage for us. But I definitely thought the game was exactly as any AFC North game. Like if you were to say, what is a typical AFC North game? That was it.
Yeah.
It was a whole lot of stuff for not a lot of points. And that's exactly what that game was.
That's a good way to put it. A whole lot of stuff for not a lot of points. I like that. Yeah. Ian, what did you take away from Sunday's little adventure to Cleveland?
Yeah, that was kind of the quintessential Steelers game. I talked about it last week where, the game of being, you're like, they're not doing anything, so I'm mad. And then they do something and you're happy. And then you're mad again, so you let the other team back in it. And then you're mad at the refs and then the roller coaster ride. And this was kind of that game where you were like, all right, I think they can win. And then they did something so dumb that you're like, this is the dumbest thing they've ever done, which we've all said about 30 times in a season anyways.
Oh yeah.
They always find new ways to do something dumb. This time around it was running a fake field goal at the end of the half when they were going to get the ball after halftime in a game where points were at a premium, and getting your kicker killed and not having a backup plan at kicker. So all that aside, then you're like, okay, there's no way they can win this game, right? Especially when the Browns came out, scored a touchdown, they're down 10-3. You're like, we don't have a kicker. We can't score. Our offense can't score points. Like there's no way. And then they found a way to win the game anyways, despite missing 2 2-point conversions and winning by a completely bizarre score. But typical Steelers, right? They never make it easy on us.
No.
But it was a game that they probably should have lost and they wound up winning. And then they have games that they probably should win and wind up losing. And that's what this team is.
It was funny because, when Boswell went out, and it was obvious he was out, okay, because you saw it just like I did. He was out. And they showed Harvin kind of warming up, and it's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. This was going through my mind. We're going to hang right into this game. We're going to get within 2 or 3 points. We're going to get the ball all the way down the field. We're going to need a field goal, and we're going to have to go for it on 4th down and not get it, and we're going to lose this stupid game because we don't have a kicker.
Yep.
And I was so glad that's not what happened. And part of me was just glad that we won, but I was also glad for Mike Tomlin because he was really going to have to answer for that either way, but it was really going to be bad if it came down the way I thought it was going to. So let's talk about that because that's kind of the elephant in the room. Ellie, you're enjoying the game. The Steelers get the ball to open the second half. They've got the ball with a chance to score at the end of the first half. Fake field goal. What's going through your mind?
a lot of things I can't
It's okay
really
to
say
swear.
for legal reasons.
Yes, it is R-rated.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I'll stick to as clean as possible, but I was thinking what an absolute fucking joke that was. The worst thing about it was when the angle of the camera as he did it, you saw from behind him a sea of orange. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, fuck, what was that? What was the point? And then when he did throw it, he came so far at that shot when that guy hit him, it was like he just whoop, popped up out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, so he just died for nothing. Killed him for absolutely no reason. And then they kept playing it over and over again, that moment where he tripped over on top of someone, and it did look like a helmet hit. Unintentional, I'm sure, but it did look like helmet to helmet contact. That's the word.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, and I just horrified. And the fact that you're right, we had the ball at the start of the second half, and I believe we got the ball back with time to spare, and we took a knee. So what was the point in what if you initially went for something kind of dangerous, kind of risky for points, but then you didn't even attempt points the very next drive? I don't understand what the purpose was then. Was it just to try something and then completely fall back and say no points? I thought that was
It's a great point. No, it's a really good point. I don't think enough people talked about that. We had 2 timeouts left. You know, what was there? I'm going to guess maybe 28 seconds. Not a ton of time, but 2 or 3 throws, maybe.
There was enough.
You know,
but enough for an offense that can throw the ball down the field.
Well, right. And I think it was also, too, we didn't have a kicker. So it's not like it was going to be throw, rush Boswell on the field. This was going to be throw, okay, chuck one into the end zone, because that would have been our only play at that point.
Yeah.
Ian, what were you thinking when that happened?
A whole litany of swear words.
Oh yes. Yes.
My children were around, so I didn't utter them all, but they were all going through my head. A whole bunch of creative 4-letter words. I'll just put it that way.
Yes.
And it was. I mean, I've seen this team do some really dumb things, but this might have been one of the dumbest. I mean, just situationally, always take the points in the first half. And, just looking at the game as a whole, right? Like,
yes.
Cleveland's coaches get lauded for being so data-driven and so smart and all this other stuff. They went for it on that 4th down in the first half, and that completely changed the game. I mean, they went for that 4th down. They turned over on downs. We got the ball back on a shorter field, went down and kicked a field goal to tie the game. And then, I mean, just punt, and then we drive it down and have a chance to go up 6-3, which isn't a lot, but nevertheless, at a game
they would have had 7 at that point. Didn't they score a touchdown to open the game?
No, they scored a field goal. It was 3-3 at halftime.
Oh God, well, I'm thinking of the other way around. My mistake.
It was 3-3. And it was like, okay, well, we take the points, go into halftime up 6-3, and then
that's right.
Maybe you come out and put some pressure on them, and if you can score again, and then we do this dumbass shit that's like, let's and I've said this before, if you're gonna go for it on 4th down, don't put the ball in somebody else's hands that's not Ben Roethlisberger. Like, if you're gonna go for it, go for it. If you're gonna don't have Chris Boswell roll out away from all his protection, where they're the only thing between there's nothing between him and anyone. I know they were trying to get him a clean look in the end zone, but it was I mean, it was stupid. It was dumb. And then on top of that, you get your kicker killed because you're rolling him away from protection, and you have no kicker in the second half of a game where a division game, right? Where
you were even at the half,
right? So where you're even at the half, and then I'm sitting there watching the second half, and I'm like, all right, we missed 2 2-point conversions. Okay, so that's 2 more points we could have had if we would have kicked extra points. And then there was another time we were in field goal range, and couldn't kick a field goal. So I was like, all right, well, actually, so I was like, all right, well, there was 5 points there that we left out on the board.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, if this had been a 20-10 game, this would have been a definitive victory rather than a 15-10 sweated out game in the end too. But it was, it needlessly put arguably one of your most important players at risk too. That's the other thing, is that our team struggles to move the ball. We struggle to score points. We need all the points we can get. And we've seen how bad kicking has been around the league this year. To have someone as consistent as Boswell be able to be out there, like, don't put him at physical risk needlessly.
If I analyze the actual play itself, here's I go back and I you look at the one we ran against Tennessee, I believe it was, that was successful.
There was one against Denver a few years ago, I think.
Yes, where he threw it to Villanueva and it did work.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking we did Tennessee, but when you snap the ball directly to the kicker, I think the problem there is those guys that are rushing off the edge immediately see what's happening. Whereas if you snap it to the holder, they still keep coming as though there's going to be a kick. So you kind of draw everybody in, then you can flip it to the kicker and at least go that route. Now, sure, that's more dangerous, everything else. You can get into that. And I agree with you. They wanted to get Boz an open look at the end zone.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I couldn't agree more. Get the points. It's 3-3. It's a slugfest. Neither team is doing anything offensively. Take the points. You get the ball coming back and go from there. And as far as the hit, I think it was 100% an illegal hit. The helmet came up under Boswell's chin, made contact with it. To me, it was a no-brainer. I think they panicked and didn't call it because he wasn't an actual quarterback. And as Gene Steratore said, the longtime referee, he said it doesn't matter. That's a passer. It's a person that took a shot helmet to helmet, basically. So, we've probably spent too much time on the field goal. But
I have one other note, too, to branch off that point on the Browns' supposedly smart coaches, was that, at the end of the game, the Browns are down 15-10 and have the ball in a 4th and 12 before the 2-minute warning and have 3 timeouts left and know that we don't have a kicker. Like, I don't know what the numbers are, but you would think if they kick a field goal there, make it 15-13. And that was my concern. I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm like, they're going to kick a field goal here. They're going to make it 15-13. They're going to kick the ball off back to us, then use their 3 timeouts, and they're going to get the ball back with like 1 minute and 30 seconds left and just need a field goal to beat us.
I thought the same thing.
And
I thought, why not kick the field goal?
They went for it on 4th and 12.
Weird.
It was
very odd. You're right. For a team that is so analytics and data driven, it was shocking to me. I really thought that's what they were going to do. They'd kick the field goal and then just use those timeouts and force us. And I will say this too, at the end of the game there, the throw that Ben makes to Deontay, that essentially seals the game. Wow. I mean, you guys remember, we all remember how conservative we would be at the end of games. Even when we didn't have a running game, we would try to pound the ball and then we'd have to punt it away. And more often than not, leave it in the hands of our defense. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I like them being aggressive the way they have the last few years. So I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. As far as other things in the game, Ellie, we haven't had John in a little while, and I wanted to make sure that I got your thoughts on Najee Harris in terms of what you've seen, and not just him, but the offensive line too. Is it going in a direction that you like right now?
It's definitely trending upwards. The first 4 games we had, I believe it was double digits on the ground. The last 3 games, over 100-yard running each of the 3. Can't remember exactly what they were, but definitely over 100. That's the kind of thing you want to see in a new O-line, that we have to give them time to gel. And I'm also guilty of, expecting it now, but they do need the time to become a more cohesive unit, especially with 2 rookies. And I think that they've done exactly what they need to do. They're trending in the right direction. And you can see that, now I'm talking, you can see that in the way that they, that Najee Harris has been performing, because it is it's a team effort. Without them increasing their ability, he cannot perform as well. So I like what I'm seeing from the O-line. Do they still make mistakes? Yes. But particularly Moore and Green, I mean, you'd expect inconsistencies from them because they are rookies, and 7 games together is not a lot of games. No. But I like what I'm seeing. I'm impressed with the trend. I think as long as we keep going upwards, and I also saw, I can't remember, someone wrote, one of the analysts on Twitter said that Ben had a far longer throwing time this game than any game he's had this so far this season. Yep. That's another thing that we definitely want. We want more time to make good decisions. So I'm happy with what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and to me, that rise in that number is strictly because the running game, while I'm not going to say it's been successful, it's been way better. So yeah, that's helped. Yeah. Ian, your thoughts on what you saw out of the offense on Sunday?
Yeah. You know, I was really encouraged in the second half that they were able to put 2 touchdown drives together. The biggest thing for me that I've been kind of keeping an eye on is basically how many touchdown passes Ben has, because I think only I looked it up and I don't remember the number off the top of my head. So, but like only like once or twice in the last probably now 14 games or so has he had 2 touchdown passes in a game. It's only been once this year, and he had 2 against Indy last year. But I think like since that Washington game last year, I don't think he's had 2 touchdown passes in a game. And hello, there's a foot here. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, but nevertheless, like, you know, I think that's the biggest difference is that now, like, we've gotten, I'll say, consistent enough in the running game, and Najee's really good at making, you know, turning a 2-yard loss into a 4-yard gain or something like that. And that's those are big yards that you get, and in the red zone especially, you know. Like we saw, running the ball in the red zone works, and now we're getting to the point where, okay, we're getting 1 rushing touchdown a game. And if we can just get that second passing touchdown a game from Ben, like then maybe we can score like 24 points in a game and have a chance and not have to win these like 15-10 games anymore that are, you know, basically relying on the defense to ball out all the time. I mean, and really credit to the defense too. They gave up points on Cleveland's first drive of the game. They gave up a field goal and on the first drive of the second half. And other than that, they shut them out, which I mean, that's an offense that put up 45 points against us in the playoffs last year. So 48, something like that. Yeah.
And I think you guys nailed it. It's trending upward. Najee is the type of guy who's not going to lose yards. He's going to make something out of nothing every time. And I thought the one particular run was like the perfect summation of his game so far. I believe it was the 4th down that we went for it, and he was stopped. And he just kept churning and kind of buried his back, you know, almost going backwards, and just pushed and pushed and pushed. And he got it. He got the first down. Yeah. I don't know that happens with James Conner last year. It definitely doesn't happen with Benny Snell. I mean, that's why you go get a guy like this in the first round, you know, to me, because that was a huge thing. So,
I agree.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I do want to make sure that everybody does know that we are really, really happy to be presented to you by DEK Roofing of South Florida. DEK serves Broward and the Palm Beach counties. Whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, or condos, contact DEK Roofing today by visiting dekroofing.com. And real quick, I got a text message from Mr. John Deck himself. It was a photo of a truck down in Florida, and I didn't recognize the truck, and I thought maybe he got a new one. And it was actually somebody that had one of our stickers in the window. All the way down in Florida. So he's like, man, you got to check this out. And he took the photo and sent it, and it was great. So nice. we're going nationwide.
You really are.
That's like how the Erie International Airport says they're international because they fly across Lake Erie to Canada.
Yes, our local airport's the same way. Fly to Canada. We're international.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention one more thing on the offensive line. The fine folks at Pro Football Focus
suck.
Thank you. They graded Dan Moore, the rookie, with a pass protection grade of 0 0.0. Okay.
That's sick.
Well, that to me, when I see that, that means that every time Ben Roethlisberger dropped back, he either got hit or sacked. That's what that means to me. If it's 0.0.
Right.
Dan Moore gave up a sack. He gave up a few QB hits. But there's a whole lot of other plays where he did just fine. How in the world do you grade something like that? I mean, nobody knows their criteria, which is part of their secret.
Yes.
But Ellie, did you see 0.0? I didn't see 0.0.
I did not see 0.0, and I don't think they did either. I think they were maybe just twisting the knife because we were upset about them giving Myles Garrett the defensive player of the week or whatever their thing is. And
yes.
was like, are you sure? And I think that they came at us like, well, I'm going to give Dan Moore 0. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever you say.
And it's fodder for podcasts like this. So they probably love that too.
Yeah, exactly. So good for them, I guess. They get their bread, but it's not he was not 0.0. You're right. He did give up some hits and a sack, but I also thought, I actually think he's better in pass protection than he is when he's doing like any kind of, well, I don't know. There was good push actually for the run, so I can't really say that against him either. Was it his best game? No, but it wasn't his worst game.
Right. Yeah, who has their best game against Myles Garrett? I mean,
right, exactly. And honestly, the fact that he held him as much as he did, and Myles Garrett wasn't trucking over Ben every single drive, that's worthy of more than 0.0 in my opinion.
I agree, Ian.
If that was a 0.0, then whatever Al Villanueva did in week 1 against the Raiders playing for Baltimore was like a negative 200, because I mean, if you want to talk about like bad games by an offensive tackle, I mean, he got rocked in that game.
Yes.
And the Raiders have some good pass rushers, don't get me wrong, but Myles Garrett's a Pro Bowl pass rusher too. I mean, he's an all-pro guy, number 1 overall pick, all that stuff. So yeah, it's and I mean, I kind of fall in the middle here. Like the guys on local radio here were just effusively praising Dan Moore for his performance against Myles Garrett. They're like, he held his own. He only gave up 1 sack and 2 QB hits to Myles Garrett, And it's like, okay, he had help a lot of the time. He did all right. He didn't do great. It wasn't like, what was the game? Like Marcus Gilbert against Von Miller the one year against the Broncos, where like we thought Marcus Gilbert was going to get killed, and then he just came out and just stoned Von Miller.
Yep.
It wasn't that good, but it wasn't like 0.0 bad either.
No.
It was he held his own. They schematically did some things to help him, which they needed to do, but you should help against a guy like Myles Garrett or a Von Miller or something like that. Like you shouldn't just leave your tackle out there to dry. TJ Watt gets, double and triple teamed all the time, and no one's like, oh yeah, that tackle deserves a 0 because he got help from the running back blocking TJ Watt,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's an excellent point.
What did Seattle's tackle get for his game against TJ Watt a couple weeks ago?
Negative 18.5.
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, that's the thing about their grading system. It's such a joke. Let me actually, I'm going to stay on the O-line. One more thing here, Ellie. How excited are you to finally see Zach Banner? It seems like we're getting closer. And everything that I am hearing is that he'll probably slide in place of Chooks because he is better in the running game. But are you ready to see Zach finally?
I mean, God, what was it? The first game of last season? Was that when he got injured?
Season opener.
That is a long time. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see him back. I think that position is definitely one that should be fought for, because I'm not sure that Chooks he's definitely the most vulnerable, I would say, on that line at the moment in terms of position holding. So yeah, why not? Why not? At the very least, I when I was watching the video that came out this week about Mike Tomlin's Tomlinisms, one of them was 2 dogs, 1 bone, and the idea of everybody should be competitive for their position. So yeah, that's 2 dogs, 1 bone. Let's see who earns that spot, I guess.
Well, and allow me to do a quick, I guess, shout out to our friends at DC4LCustomTees.com, because not only I'm wearing one of our podcast T-shirts tonight, as a matter of fact, but they just put out a shirt, I think today,
Yes.
it is fantastic. It's basically Tomlin sitting at the table doing a press conference, and they just Dan there at DC Farrell did a great job putting all the different Tomlinisms in there. So check it out, DC Farrell, customtees.com. Awesome shirt. Christmas is coming. Get those gifts, kids.
Yep.
Yeah. Ian, anything else on Banner?
I think they'll probably work him in slowly, although I completely agree with Ellie that Chooks has definitely been the weakest link on the offensive line. You know, and I think too, though, you know, with Eric Ebron's injury, that gives you an opportunity at least to kind of do the heavy sets with the extra tight ends and whatever, and do Zach Banner as the, you know, tackle eligible for a game or two, just to kind of work him back in, get him back into shape, get him 10 to 15 snaps a game before you just, you know, throw him out there for 60 offensive snaps at a tackle spot.
True. And you know, speaking of the heavy,
terrible.
Yeah,
I agree. Ellie was
right. I was just going to say, speaking of the heavy formations, I have to give a little bit of a shout out, and I know Ben would probably laugh, and I don't care because he's not here and he's stupid. Zach Gentry, if I told you he was going to have 6 catches and 60 yards at this point in the season, would any of you have agreed to that?
I mean, maybe in like the XFL or something,
well,
but
exactly. I mean, his stats are on par with Jesse James right now, who ironically plays for the Bears, who we see this week. Good for the kid.
I hope he doesn't catch it.
Yeah, very well played. Very well played. But yeah, he's turned himself into a very nice blocker. And when Ben Roethlisberger has to throw him the ball, he catches the ball. You know, and that's all I can ask out of what essentially is a number 3 tight end.
And
so
Cleveland was so surprised that you know, they actually threw it to him. They didn't even decide to cover him on that. Was it 2nd and 18 or something like that? And he converted it. I was like, Ben threw it to him. I was like, who's this dude wide open? I was like, oh, it's Gentry. No wonder they weren't covering him.
He turned expecting to get creamed too. And he's like, nobody's around me. And he started trucking down.
I saw on the someone posted some clips of the All 22, and I saw as well that Pat was actually using Zach Gentry for leverage by pushing off on his leg, because I don't know if you've seen some of the criticisms that he's really slow when he starts off.
Yeah.
And so he's been holding Zach and pushing off him to increase his speed as he fires off, and it worked a couple times. That's a good teammate.
Hey, this team is truly becoming a team. That's teamwork right there.
Hey, speaking of Zach Gentry, Mark, what happened to Michigan this week? They played Michigan State. Did they continue on their undefeated season, or
they sure did? They sure did.
Staggeringly.
Hey, you know,
disheartening loss.
It's another stellar Jim Harbaugh season. We're gonna go 10-2, and everybody is gonna be completely thrilled in Ann Arbor because he's gonna go to a big bowl game. He will not have gone to a conference championship. He won't have gone to the college football playoff. But hey, as long as he's got 10 wins, people's expectations around here have just diminished. And that's all I'll say. Kudos to the Spartans. They deserve to win. Ellie, I thought Ben Roethlisberger's best game was Sunday. And not just because he didn't turn it over. There were a lot of little moments where he made big throws, and he made really crucial protection calls. What was your overall take on what you saw from him?
I definitely agree with you that was his best game, or one of his best games, definitely so far at least. I know we talked about it before. I definitely attribute some of that to having a little bit more time to make those decisions. And I think that comes to the total cohesiveness of that offense at the moment. And I definitely felt that in this game, his connection with Deontay Johnson, which has been kind of hit and miss in some of the games recently, was a lot more tuned in, especially with that amazing and final throw where I don't know how many yards he ran for, but it was a beautiful route. And it was so perfectly done. And I truly believe if he if he'd have just taken it at a slightly different angle, it could have been a touchdown. Because I feel like he was definitely past the 10-yard line before he was tackled.
He had the one pursuer that I think had the angle on him, but it's hard to know what those guys are thinking, because they're so they're so ingrained to understand the situation of the game, which is get the first down and keep the clock running. You know, and maybe that's what he was thinking about.
Yeah.
And
credit to
absolutely
Deontay.
worked.
Yeah. Credit to Deontay too. You know, we've talked before about him making sort of dumb situational decisions of coming up short of the sticks or going out of bounds when he shouldn't, of staying in bounds and getting down. You know, obviously, yes, scoring the touchdown was ideal there, but like staying in bounds was the second best thing he could have done. And he could have run out of bounds when that guy had the angle on him. He made a point to go down in bounds. So credit to him for
absolutely
for heads up play.
It was
there.
a good throw too. It was a good throw.
Oh man, beautiful dart of a pass, and great route, and everything was executed very, very well there.
And I really wish that 2-point conversion where he himself muscled in. I wish that had stood, because that was awesome. It reminded me of when he was the person that scored that touchdown in that Jags game. Do you remember at the very end of it?
Yes.
It reminded me of that moment. I wish it had stood, because that would have been, we'd have needed it also, but I loved that.
Yeah, it would have been nice, right?
It was, once again, completely unexpected. You know, we apparently don't have a quarterback sneak in the playbook. But Ben can just tuck it and run, and his old ass slow feet with concrete shoes can still make it into the end zone somehow.
It's funny that, you know, his idol growing up was John Elway, and which is why he wears number 7. Excuse me. And you know, in Elway's early career, he was a scrambler. He was a guy that could make plays with his feet, just like Ben could. But later on, you know, in his last run to the Super Bowl there that they won, he wasn't moving real well either. And so I thought of that on that play. And God, I did. I felt terrible that he didn't get to keep that play, but at least we know he can do it if necessary.
Yes, definitely.
Keeps the defenses honest.
Absolutely. Let me just take a quick opportunity to remind everybody to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet $1 on either team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code TPPN. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and, of course, of us here at the Pigskin Podcast Network. You must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only, new customers only, minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. So again, thanks to the folks there at DraftKings too. Okay, we've got the Bears coming in, Monday Night Football, and the Bears. Ellie, your excitement level on a scale of 1 to 10 that we're wearing Color Rush uniforms.
11.
Yes, 11 is the correct answer.
I love it. I think it looks so good.
It does. It does. It's the best, and we're biased. I don't mind saying it. It's the best Color Rush uniform in all of pro football. I don't care what anybody else says.
I could not agree more. I love it.
It just is. It just is.
Yeah,
now,
it's beautiful.
That said, I don't ever want to see the highlighters come out. And it wasn't that what Dan Rooney said, or was it Art Rooney too? Ian, that said that they'll never wear the gold on gold as long as he's around.
Yeah,
really?
One of them said that. And when I saw the gold jerseys, the gold Color Rush jerseys in the pro shop, I thought, oh, maybe that is coming. But so far it's not, because we're going strictly with the black on black this weekend. So you're obviously excited about this.
I think it just looks so good under the lights. I just think it's a really beautiful.
It does.
Jersey.
It does. And I believe our record is 6-1.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I can't remember who beat us, but it was like maybe 2 years ago or something.
Was it Buffalo?
Yeah, I think you're right. It was
Buffalo. It when Ben wasn't playing?
Yeah, it was when Ben wasn't playing. That was the Duck game.
Well, Big Ben is undefeated in the Color Rush.
Yeah, there we go. So the Bears come in. They've beaten us the last 3 times we've played them. We had the famous national anthem, everybody stand in the tunnel except for Villanueva game in Chicago that we lost in overtime. We got blown out at home. I think Jay Cutler had a huge game that night, which I think was also a Monday night or a Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the one previous to it, but Chicago's had our number. And
it was another stupid game.
Yeah.
What was Was it the game where, do you remember? I'm sure it was the Bears where they blocked our field goal. He ran all the way to the end zone, did a dance before he went into the end zone, and we prevented the touchdown. I think.
Oh, that's right. It was.
Yes.
Who caught him? Was it Vance McDonald that caught him?
It was Vance McDonald. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was that was the last game. That was the 2017 game.
That's right.
That was the same as the national anthem game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, was it?
And we fumbled a punt, if I remember correctly, in that game. It was just it was one of those Murphy's Law type games. Nothing seemed to work. Do you feel better, Ian, about this week against this team?
I mean, they're struggling. Their defense is good. It seems like stupid stuff always happens when we play the Bears, though, especially in Chicago, though, right? Like that 2017 game not only was the anthem game, but Mike Glennon was playing quarterback for them, who's had our number somehow over the years.
Yes.
But like, I think he threw for like 100 yards that game, but we somehow couldn't stop the run. And yeah, that was
right.
dumb. The 2013 game was a Monday night game. I remember being there for it because that was the year we started 0-4. I think that was the third game, and then we went to London next week and lost to Minneapolis. But like you're right. Cutler had thrown like 4 interceptions the week before, and then he came out and threw like 4 touchdowns against us. And I think they had either at least one. They had 2. I'm looking up now. They had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game. They returned an interception and a punt and a fumble for a touchdown. So like the final score of 40-23 was a lot worse than the actual game was. It was just that like they scored defensive touchdowns. And then the one before that would have been 2009. And I remember losing that game too in Chicago, and that was another dumb one. That was like a 17-14 game.
It was a weird game.
17-14. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that was the year that Pouncey got hurt the first week of the year. Wasn't it? No. 2009. That was the year before Pouncey. That was the Sean Mahan disaster at center. And they wound up we blew a 14-7 lead. They came back in the fourth quarter, and Cutler again, but at any rate, this team, Justin Fields has been turning the ball over. Justin Fields is very loose with the ball in the pocket. He's very prone to being strip sacked. Their offensive line's not that good. They do have a pretty good running game. I mean, David Montgomery's a good back, and Khalil Herbert's been coming on for them. So their running game is good. They're going to do what they can to take the pressure off Fields, and their defense is pretty good. And for a team like the Steelers, where we are now, that doesn't score a whole lot of points, this one could be a bit of a nail biter. But Fields, I don't think has quite figured out the speed of the NFL game just yet. He started to show some improvement, but we also now have some mobile inside linebackers that can actually slow down running quarterbacks to prevent him from stepping up and doing what he does with his feet. So, I mean, I like our chances, but the Bears have been this weird team over the last couple of years too, that like everyone thinks they suck, but they found a way to make the playoffs the last couple times.
They do. They just find a way.
It's been I don't know. They're that like mediocre team that's been just good enough to make the playoffs a couple times, and this is the kind of game that those mediocre teams win. But like, there's a lot of mediocre teams out there right now. Like just looking around the league, right? Like, I don't know. Let's take New Orleans. They look terrible against Seattle, and then they came out and beat Tampa Bay. Is Carolina good or bad? Is Kansas City good or bad? They almost lost to the Giants. There's a lot of mediocrity out there now. The Bears, the Vikings, the Patriots, the Colts, the Titans just lost Derrick Henry, who was most of their offense.
That's going to change the landscape of the conference, I think.
The Ravens barely beat the Lions. They needed basically a miracle to beat them. The Bungles returned to being the Bungles this past week. So, like, who knows what's going on in this league right now? And honestly, the most important thing is just to keep stacking wins. You just keep stacking wins, and that's all you can do.
And I totally agree. These 2 games scare the crap out of me because they're games we're supposed to win. We've seen this before where we've come off a big win and then come back and laid an egg. And certainly if we enter the Detroit game and they're still winless, being where I am from, that is going to be awful if we lose that game. So I am making a plea right now. Do not lose that game. Let's just leave it at that. So Ellie, what do you see happening in this game on Monday night? We have kind of the weekend off, if you will. Give us what you hope to see and what's your prediction for final score?
I mean, I would really love to see a big scoring game. If out of the last 2 weeks that we've played, if you were to give me a game that I would expect a high scoring game, this would be it. I would like to see more points than 15. This would be ideal. And that doesn't mean that I think they'll lose. I expect us to play down because we do. And I just have to be honest. And I think that there'll be moments where we will struggle. It just seems to be that some teams are our hubris. The Raiders, the Bears.
You're right.
Is there anyone else I can think of? I can't think of anyone else.
Those are the two main culprits.
Those are the two main culprits that get us. And I really hope we break that trend, but I do expect it to be more of like a slugfest than we expect.
Okay. That's very fair. Yeah. But you expect a win.
But I do expect to win.
Okay.
In that color rush uniform, I expect to win.
Gotcha. Ian, what do you think will happen in your prediction?
Yeah. That's a good question. I agree with Ellie that, I mean, this has all the makings of like a 13-10 kind of game where we have to sweat it out unnecessarily. Just because of everything, ideally, we would, get up, 14-0 in the first half and just cruise to, maybe a comfortable, like 27-10 victory or something like that.
That'd be nice.
That would be glorious.
Real nice. But like right now, I think the Bears have, let me see here. I think they're one of the worst offenses in the league as far as I'm actually almost certain of that.
Primed for their best game against
us. Exactly. They're 32nd, so they're dead last in yards per game. And they are, I think, 31st in points per. Yeah, they're 31st in points per game, averaging 15 points per game. And
we're so ripe to be beat.
Oh, I just wish they were more in the middle.
We're averaging a blistering 18.9 points per game. So, and really, I think what scares me the most is if Boswell was healthy, I'd feel a lot better about this game. But him being just like that little bit questionable. Although we did sign Josh Lambo, who I was shocked was out there because he's been a decent kicker, that just tells you, how these kickers just kind of come and go. So yeah, but if we had Boswell, I'd feel a lot better about it. But yeah, I feel like this has all the makings of another low-scoring defensive struggle. So what I'll say is, if we don't turn the ball over, we win this game. But we just, if we no turnovers, we win this game. I don't see how we lose this game if we don't turn the ball over.
I agree with both of you. I have an expectation right now that it's going to be ugly. Last week was a slugfest. It's a rivalry game. You give everything you've got. Not to say that these players don't give everything they got every week, but we all know there's a different level of that. And so I do think we'll see some ugliness for sure on Monday night. But I am going to hope that between the excitement of the crowd, the color rush, that maybe that carries us to a little bit more. So I'm thinking we might pull out like 23-16, something like that. And everything I'm being told is that Boz will play. He should come out of concussion protocol tomorrow, maybe Saturday at the latest, but Tomlin was real positive about it. So that's where I'm at. And before we leave, a very important question that I did not ask is that, Ian, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking some of Terry Bradshaw's finest bourbon, which is delicious, and I highly recommend it for everyone because Terry Bradshaw makes a damn fine bourbon.
Yes, he does. And I also went with Terry Bradshaw bourbon tonight. Anytime you beat the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, you have to have some of this. Now, Ellie, I know you've been running around this evening, so you may not have had a time for an adult beverage. Have you had a chance to grab anything to drink tonight?
I haven't had a chance to grab anything
Okay.
tonight. I'm monitoring very rowdy animals who I'm sure you can. I'll be horrified if you can hear how annoying they are. They're right here, breathing heavily, and I keep thinking, please, I hope the mic's not picking that.
Is that
up.
what that was?
Like,
I thought they were like stalkers outside the window or something.
And there's another one here, and the cat in the back. I mean, they're all just mauling me as I'm trying to have a conversation.
Oh, it's
and
like,
she's crying.
We're gonna host a new podcast next week. It's called Ellie's Zoo.
It really is a zoo.
Yeah, that's funny.
You know, if you wanted to do this podcast at like 7:00, you could see my zoo. That is literally chaos.
They might have to compete with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I have a kid sleeping over here right now, but you know, it's all good.
That's so cute.
Unbelievable. Excuse me. Well, we'll get everybody out of here after all that. But thank you both for being here tonight, as usual. And thank all of you for tuning in to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers.
Fuck the Browns.
Whoa!
We didn't talk about how we ruined them.
We didn't. Yeah, we totally wrecked them.
Wait a minute. I didn't end the broadcast.
Wait. We ruined them.
Did we ruin the Browns because we beat them and then they've gone to hell in the last 5 days?
I know. The only thing.
Yeah, that was a preemptive ending by me. You got Odell's father sending out video of all the times Baker doesn't find his son when he's open. And now it looks like they're done with Odell, period. They told him to stay home the last few days. You know, Baker's wife, I guess, has been like liking tweets that it's just crazy. Mm-hmm. Did we break them?
I think
we did. It sounds like it. Yeah.
Oh my God. I just never dreamed. I mean, I thought that team was going to the Super Bowl this year. Yeah.
I know. Wow. Would you believe it?
Stranger things, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, that's it. Now we mentioned it. This has been the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers. Ian?
Ravens suck. And
there we go.
Ben, who also sucks for not being on with us tonight. He's traveling to Pittsburgh.
Screw
for the
him.
game.
He's going to the game Monday night, and he had to pack.
Yeah.
You know, it takes me like 3 minutes. It takes 2 hours. All right, we're out of here.